We got a hell of a show lined up for you guys today. Super exciting. We got Cleetus McFarlane, Vic Alvarez from Bradenton Motorsports Park, and the one, the only Mark Micke joining us today as we talk all things Drag Illustrated Winter Series, as well as the fast approaching 2.4 hours of Le Mullets, the Black Rifle shootout, if you will. Can't wait for this deal. JT, roll the tape. Listen, I've never had any problem expressing my opinions, but what we're doing here is bigger than that. These are conversations that need to be had in an unfiltered way. Drag racing's all I've ever done. It's all I care to do. I respect the history, I appreciate how far we've come, but I want more for this sport, and I'll fight for it. It's uncut, it's unfiltered. This is the show of shows. The biggest names in drag racing. No holds barred. This is the great American motorsport. Drag racing. Prove me wrong. I'll wait. Hey gang, Wes Buck here, Drag Illustrated Magazine, checking in. It is Wednesday, November 13th, 2024. Hope you're doing well out there. We got it's hot and heavy out here, guys. It's that time of year, the time of year we all like, the time of year when you can wear a hoodie to the drag strip. That's my favorite time of year. I don't know about you guys, but it's that time of year. We got the NHRA rolling into Pomona, California for the NHRA finals. Can't wait to see how this unfolds. We've had a media day yesterday. The NHRA Mission Foods Drag Racing Series had 6 of their stars on there. Antron Brown, Justin Ashley, Sean Langdon, Dallas Glenn, Aaron Stanfield, Greg Anderson. Fantastic kind of conversation about the significance of rolling into this final race of the year. It feels like just yesterday we were talking about, new paint jobs and guys shaking off the cobwebs and kind of getting into the routine of the season. Yet here we are at the end of the year with championships on the line and all of them still up for grabs in the NHRA. Excited to see that unfold. And of course, as I mentioned in the intro there, the cold open, we've got the Black Rifle Coffee Company 2.4 hours of Le Mullets coming up this weekend at the Freedom Factory. Vic Alvarez and I, Bradenton Motorsports Park's own Vic Alvarez and I will be tag teaming this deal, doing battle with Cleetus McFarlane and all of his cast of characters. Super excited about this. We got a lot to cover today. But before we get too far along, let me introduce my co-host here on the Wes Buck Show, JT Hudson, Mike Carpenter. What's up, boys? Do we have the whole squad?
I got everybody.
Cleetus is here. Hey. We're ready to party, guys. What's going on, man? Everybody doing well?
Your live stream real quick.
I was wondering if he would share this. I was like, you know what? I should have sent that.
His fans get in the comments. They roast somebody. It's probably going to be me.
Yeah, I hope it's Victor.
I hope it's Victor too.
We're here for it.
We're here for it, man. Well, thank you guys for joining us. I want to know, as you're typing this in and sharing this on your social, Cleetus, I'd love to know what is the origin story of the 2.4 hours of Le Mullets. I've seen this, I've watched it, I've bought the pay-per-view. We were talking earlier, if you guys want to join in on the action this weekend, you can log on to baldeagle.com, greatest domain name perhaps in the history of the known universe.
I can't, my voice didn't go on.
Anyways, how did you, listen, you cooked up all sorts of crazy stuff, Garrett. One after another, but this deal's kind of gotten some serious legs. You've got all sorts of big names involved in this, and I'm not talking about Vic and I'm talking about Travis Pastrana, Jeremy McGrath, yourself. Where did this? Was this sitting around having a cold one? Yeah, tell us the story.
Quick and dirty on it. It was March of 2020 when I had basically 3 months after I had bought the racetrack now known as the Freedom Factory, and my master plan of making my money back with fans from the YouTube channel fell apart when COVID hit. I was pretty cornered up on money and just all things. And I came up with the idea of having a Crown Vic race where I bought 20 Crown Vics from the state auction, which back then it was only about $1,000 a car. And I came up with a pay-per-view system using another motorsports company, and we just hosted the most redneck live feed ever of it was $10 to watch, and everyone was cooped up in their houses, and like I said, the most redneck live feed you've ever seen. It was very poorly executed, in my opinion, but it was just epic. And that was the first ever Freedom 500. And that went off so big for our channel that then later that year, I said, we got to have another Crown Vic race. But I wanted one that's a little bit more fun with multiple drivers per car. So two drivers per car. And that's how we came up with the 2.4 hours of Le Mullets, which is what we're doing this Friday at 5:30 p.m.
5:30 p.m.
You got to work, Wes. You got to work on that mullet, man. I mean, I think you just went and got freshened up.
I did,
today.
man. I just went and got freshened up. I should have grown
You
the shit
buy
out
a
a
mullet
little
at the store.
Yeah, you and Victor are
It's
probably
true.
the only two without one.
No, I have one. Whoa! I have mine. I'm just not wearing it right now.
Oh,
bit. Oh, okay. Yeah, he carries it in a bag. It only uses it if needed. You know what I mean?
Briefcase.
Well, so what do you think the strat? Like, obviously, I posted that photo up of me with the Lambo yesterday on social media, but that photo was taken in 2017. Anybody who looks closely knows that that's a very old photo. But anyways, I do not have a lot of road racing experience, but do you go into this thing with any sort of strategy? I mean, how serious is the competition aspect? Is this like all good fun? Or, I mean, because Stevie and Lyle have both told me that they're like out to hurt us.
Brother, there's NASCAR drivers in it, you know. I would say it's, you know, there's a couple ways you can go about it. You can have fun and make your car survive and have a good time, or like I'm absolutely racing to win it, you know, and I will do everything in my power to win it.
He hates letting somebody come to his event and win. He's the opposite of most promoters. If
I
you
let
show
him
up to
come
Garrett's event,
4 years ago and he hit the
you
wall,
back in.
the exit wall. You know, so you can race it however you want. I would say 85% of the field is there to win, and then there's the other 15% is
Lyle and Stevie.
Well, I don't know. Lyle is pretty competitive. Stevie actually had to bow out for something just personal related, so that's fine.
Oh,
But
no.
Brett LaSala is now racing for his spot. So Brett's very competitive. I would say 15% is newbies like you, Wes. You haven't raced. Brett has not raced.
Well, we
Brett's
saw the
really
rankings.
competitive,
We saw the rankings on the whiteboard the other day.
Boys haven't raced. Yeah, so there's a few on there that have not made a lap on the track, nor have they, you know, ripped at Crown Vic. And
I have
they're
a
just there to
strategy.
survive. They're there to
I have
survive.
a strategy, Wes. I'll share it with you all.
Okay.
I can
Okay,
tell you the
he's
strategy.
been looking
It's
it
to
over.
not wreck your Crown Vic until there's about 10 minutes to go, and then you can race hard.
It's survival.
But all my friends
That's honestly the
are
best strategy.
idiots, and if you just like get on someone's wrong side, they're gonna wreck you. And then, and
But
their
if your
car's
car
gonna
is
be fine.
running,
Their
if your
car
car's
Just
is
like
running
running
the
away
last
from
10
everybody the
minutes.
whole time.
if your car is alive in the last 10 minutes, you got a shot.
It is. That's a fact.
A war of attrition. Yeah, you got to be there at the end.
You cannot get behind the pack. The track is so small,
Yeah,
and you can't get behind. You cannot get laps down.
but that's what makes it fun.
Yeah, we
There's
run
a
the
fact
lucky
that
dog
it's-
rule and stuff. Like you could literally chill for the first hour, and then
What'd you call it?
Nobody
The what
does that.
rule?
But you could.
the lucky dog rule. So whoever's closest to the front
Gets the lap
that
back.
is laps down when we go into caution gets a lap back. And there's so many cautions, it's like you can't be a lap down. There's gonna be a lot of
I can't wait, man. I really appreciate the opportunity, but I want to talk at least for a moment, a little bit of drag racing. I think you had the attention of the drag racing community in its entirety at the recently completed Jason Miller's huge domestic versus Input World Cup finals. Incredible race. I think it's like one of the iconic independent drag races that exist in our space, almost 30 years strong, tens of thousands of fans, racers from all points of the globe. And of course, you were up there with your new hot rod, dipped into the 5-second zone in the quarter mile, which I think as a community, we are massively desensitized to how fast this shit has
That's
gotten.
exactly what I thought when I saw it. I'm like,
you know what I mean?
That's
Like,
a big deal.
Yeah.
And we're
It's
just
a
like, all right.
really big deal. There are people who have raced their entire lives and not accomplished that. And you guys go out and do it first time out. And I'm just curious, like, I'd love to hear you kind of riff just on that whole experience of bringing out a car. Obviously, you got a lot of hot rods, but like that caliber of car, latest, greatest pro line stuff, latest, greatest M&M train, all the bells and whistles, and just kind of get you to reflect on how it's gone from a white Corvette with a Pro Charger, a street car, to that in real freaking quick, right?
Yeah, I mean, when I started the project with Cameron, a lot of people like Victor were telling me like that car is going to be way faster than what you're used to. I listened to, the guys who are faster than me, like Mark Micke, for example. I called him. I probably annoyed him with all the calls in regard to setup and, the Pro Line motor and that type of stuff, just because he's just in that category. I'm not. And they all told me it's going to go really fast, really soon. And then Steve Petty told them like, 4-link angles and ride height and this and that. And then they put a tune in the car and it went 400 to the 8th on the second run ever. I mean, it was like, I was like, damn.
Petty's like, a little slow, but we'll tighten it up.
I like to think I'm never behind a car. I've never really been behind in a car. I've been behind like aircraft, but like this thing, I was behind it. I remember my brain was at the 60 foot and the car was already at probably the 8th mile. I was like,
what was the quickest you'd been before that?
The fastest I had been before the 400 was like 425 or something. And I didn't
that's a
think
big jump.
Those 210s were as big as they are. They're huge.
Well, it's also like 2,500 horsepower difference.
Yeah, once you're at that level, like you don't realize 210s is just, I mean, going from a 480 to a 460, like nothing. From a 420 to a 390 is massive. Now, I think that.
I mean, it's absolutely bananas. And then you have like a whole group of people that really, kind of swear off the quarter mile thing. Did you have any like second guess did you second guess this decision at all? Because that is Stevie Jackson, we were just talking about him, Lyle Barnett, a lot of these guys that have thrived in the outlaw 8th mile world, then they go start dabbling in that 240, 250, 260 range. And it's a whole new thing. What was your take on that? Like, shit, send it. We're here. That's what we're here to do.
I don't know. I haven't put as much thought into it as Victor has. He's been telling me that 250 is like getting it, and that is why we geared the car to go 250. And a lot of people, but we lost the race because of it. There's these other guys are going 270 something, right? I think. And we lost the race. Didn't have a gear. I mean, when I went out, I was way ahead of the guy. I just hit the chip, and I don't know. It feels so stable at 250. It's like kind of once you round the corner and the car is angled down, it all feels good to me. But you blow a tire.
What's the fastest anybody's been on a radial?
I don't know.
Like top speed, it would be Mike. You may be able to pull it in the back of Drag Illustrated in the top 8 if you're able to pull it up, because I know we've seen Manny Bajinga dipped well down into the 5s.
But he was doing the same thing. He was lifting early.
Yeah.
It's not one of those Australian cars, is it? I almost want to say it's one of those deals out of Australia.
It didn't feel bad at all. Like it
happened so fast that I don't think it could feel bad, because you go from 200 to 250 in like a second.
Yeah, I mean, if you blew over, I think the in between from being planted on the track to blowing over is probably so immediate you wouldn't even be able to stop it. But
that, in reality, your car probably is capable of going like 280 miles an hour.
Yeah, so
I would say
World Cup's the only event of the year we'll be running quarter mile.
Yeah. I mean,
we
I
got a
think
question
that's
here. Will we
part of
see
what makes it special?
300-mile-an-hour door slammer at the Winter Series? We will not, because we're running 8th mile. But I mean, that is something that we've seen guys do or attempted testing. We saw that last year.
I think that's going to happen, and it's going to happen in Bradenton. It's going to happen at Bradenton Motorsports.
300.
I do. I think it's going to happen.
No,
I think it's.
I don't even want to do that.
No, I don't know that I want to do it, but I can tell you right now, there are some guys that are.
There are guys
eyeing that.
Yeah. For sure. That quarter mile record that was set last year, people are after it. A lot of people.
Dude, I don't know that I'd ever seen it, as far as like a happening in the sport of drag racing that really got people talking, that had nothing to do with like racing, like an actual event or winning a race. I've never seen anything like that. I mean, the reaction to Jose Gonzalez going, what was it, almost 290?
Well, no, Jose went like 5.2 at like 270 something, and then what? Like how long after was that Todd Moyer went 5.14? I think it was.
Yeah, I mean, wasn't that testing for U.S. Streets last year?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it was Snowbird's testing that Jose did it, and then U.S. Street testing Todd Moyer did it, and like I'm pretty sure they said so. Todd Moyer lifted early, and when I asked him why, he said he thought he was at the finish line because it just happened so fast. He's like, "Oh, I thought I was there," and they said that he went like over 290 before he lifted from the data line.
I mean, the wheel speed's a lot slower on those cars, right? But I don't see how it's a ton different if you're on a radial to go those speeds. What do you?
Yeah,
think?
I mean, and they say that the radial is more stable just because of the construction of the tire, and I mean, it actually feels.
It's just I don't know. When I wanted to go really really fast on a radial, I was told that it was a gray area, and that would be the best dummy to do.
Wasn't that in regard to a 275?
That was, yeah. I don't know the difference between the 315 and the 275 as far as that is concerned, but I mean, your car realistically, I mean, man, you might even be able to go like 290 miles an hour if you really lean on it. That's just really fast.
I know.
Dude, a tire comes apart at that. I don't know.
It's an unnecessary risk.
Any small movement, anything at that point. But back to what you're talking about, Wes, with the 341. I mean, that's what you were talking about, right? Tasca's. Are you talking about Tasca's?
Oh no, I was talking about.
Also?
I think that I'm talking about. I think that record will be broken at Bradenton.
Well, I was talking. I thought you were leading into just the mainstream media coverage and the hoopla that got because it was like the quickest pass period, and I think that's what drove that. But I also think there's a ton of hype behind the first door car to go 300. I think that could be a huge.
I think that'll be like the last big significant barrier that happens in drag racing.
Somebody goes like 490s or 300. That's
I mean, it's like Kenny Bernstein territory. You know what I mean? Like that's how that person will be remembered. It's like this is the guy who did it. Went 300 in a door car. And
check the insurance policy, Vic.
Yeah, we better call
and make sure it's covered.
I want to check the person's head that wants to do it.
Hey man, I think that that's what drag racing is about. Is like Vic, obviously these races we put on, we put a lot of energy and raising money and putting together these crazy purses and stuff. But what you want is you want that legacy. You want to be remembered. You want to have made a mark. And if you want to talk about permanently etching your name in the drag racing history books, going 300 miles an hour in a suspended door car, sitting on the left-hand side, like that's going to be, you're a man amongst boys, man. There's no doubt about it. I'm curious, Cleetus, like, where do you see your racing endeavors going? Like we've seen you kind of continually escalate this whole thing. And obviously you have a racetrack, you've got all these aviation interests, you've got, a pay-per-view platform and a video streaming platform. You're creating content constantly, but like, do you have aspirations of like continuing down the path of, high level racing and racing in those like super competitive events? Like, no idea. I like that. That's a great answer.
5 years ago, people had asked me the same questions. I just be like, I think we'll go a little bit fast. I think we'll just continue to go faster in whatever avenue that requires. I don't know, but I don't think we're ever going to stop and just say like, this is good.
Do you want to go like class racing?
Yeah.
I mean, right now I think we're setting up to do some class racing with Eagle and, I don't have a specific goal in mind with class racing. Like we're going to race snowbirds for the first time ever and just run Pro 275. And then I think we're going to try a radial versus the world class later this year. But like, I don't know. It's really just, if my schedule's open, we'll go just because it's fun to run the car and make some videos. But I'm not chasing down any championships or anything like that.
Yeah, I was just curious if that was like on your radar, because it feels like the resume is getting, it's getting hefty. Lots of accomplishments and lots of race wins and all these happenings and all these things that you're tied to and, responsible for. But I was just curious if, like so many of us that like grew up in the racing culture, it's like one of these days I'm going to run the U.S. Nationals, or one of these days I'm going to accomplish this XYZ thing.
Yeah, I want to run the Daytona 500.
That would be sick. And I would say that that's like very doable, right?
Yeah, I think I'll for sure get into the Daytona 500.
Yeah, that seems very doable. And that's spectacular, man. I mean, did you ever imagine a few years ago that this was like, because this has escalated really quickly, right? I mean, I remember meeting you for the first time at SEMA walking around, shooting videos, shaking hands, and here you are, like a legit power broker in the motorsports community. It's an incredible thing to have watched.
Yeah, I mean, Kyle Loftus really set me up on my entire career, and like I definitely never imagined being able to operate at the level we are. Like YouTube just presents a great opportunity to its creators, and like the fact that we can do the things we do is crazy. Like, I feel really lucky and never expected it to be like this.
It's a killer, incredible thing, man. And I think the whole sport of drag racing is one of the things that we talked about here on the show and just over the course of the last couple decades with Drag Illustrated, is how important it is to like make it cool to be a car guy. Like that was something I remember graduating high school, driving like an S10 pickup truck with a small block Chevy in it, and I was like the weirdo. You know what I mean? Like my car was loud, and it seemed like it was kind of on the way out. But here, yeah, we're always in that to a certain extent, but it does seem like in recent years, between yourself, a slew of other automotive influencers and YouTubers, but also like Street Outlaws and even Formula One, these Netflix docuseries and all these things, it seems like it's more like, I've even found it with my own children. Like my son, he kind of found his way to motorsports in his own way by falling in love with Formula One. And that was largely rooted in that Drive to Survive thing, because when dad's talking about racing, it's not, that cool. My dad's always talking about this stuff. It's no big deal. But then he starts, getting introduced to Max Verstappen or whomever, and he starts falling in love with these celebrities and these characters and these personalities. And I just think, do you feel like that's happening in our sport? Because it does feel like, despite all the doom and gloom, it's easy. We could sit here and talk about track closures and bad news. But I mean, the fact remains, there's like 400 plus drag strips in North America. Every time I turn around, there's another event with people packed in the stands. Every race I go to, the pits are full of cars, from street car takeover to PDRA to NHRA and everywhere in between. I mean, do you feel like this is a bit of a high tide moment for car culture and racing in general?
I think that there was certainly a dip, like around the 2000, I don't know, maybe 2000. I'm not sure when the dip was. I know I experienced it, and it maybe happened a couple times, but like street racing was hot. But like going to the drag strip didn't really seem necessary earlier in my career, at least. Like I was just always like, I don't need to go to the drag strip. Like I'll just go do it on the street. And now it's like almost more, I think it's cooler to go to the drag strip and actually get numbers and stuff like that. I know there's definitely still a street racing community.
Oh, for sure.
But like the drag strip is cooler than it used to be.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that's thanks to, but it's thanks to a lot of things, but I like it.
I think the cars have gotten so damn fast that people have just realized, like,
that might be part of it.
Yeah, like these cars are getting way too fast. Like street cars are too fast for the street.
And it's nice to have traction. Like you get a race on prep, you get to see what it ran. Once you get over like 800 horsepower, the street's like not as fun because the cars.
But you make 1,000 horsepower now with like bolt-ons. Like it's so easy.
Unless you have all
it's so easy to go fast. There's like, you go to FL2K and there's probably like 100 cars with over 1,500 horsepower.
Mm-hmm.
They're all street cars, like legit street cars. So I think that's like gearing people to want to go to the track more.
For sure.
No, I mean, I just think it's an important thing because that aspirational culture, I think that's something that the NHRA battled with a little bit, is that it got so far gone and it got so complicated and so expensive, and like the barrier to entry was so significant to like go be a class racer. I think that kind of drove the bus on a lot of the street strip, illegal street racing stuff, because it was just like, I can't do that. But I mean, it's the same thing we've seen on this channel, be it yourself, Jimmy Dale, the Old Man's Garage. He was on here a couple of weeks ago, and I couldn't believe how many comments we had from people saying, you know what, man, you inspired me to start a project with my car, or you inspired me to like dive in. And I think it's cool that you've kind of created or helped popularize. You don't have to have a twin turbo Lamborghini to be cool car guy. You could have a salvage title Corvette with an exoskeleton on it and go race and be guilty by association. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I'll tell you this, my most viewed videos are with $5,000 cars. So there's no doubt that people just prefer more streetable, normal stuff.
More relatable. Yeah, it's more relatable.
It's the relatability, don't you think? Yeah.
I think yeah, for sure. And it's just more fun. Like the pressure of running a car like Eagle, it's gotta run a 5. It's gotta run a 5. Or it's like, why even post the video? Versus, like, we're riding down the street in like $3,000 cars having the time of our lives. Like that's how it is.
No, I couldn't agree more, man. Like I took my little car out this weekend and I was just thinking like how much fun I had. Like fun per dollar, great investment. You know what I mean? Like per dollar spent, I had an absolute ball and I wouldn't change it for anything. But you do see how you kind of start down this. We've seen it across the board in all of like heads up drag racing specifically, is the competition gets so good, the stakes get high, the money gets big, and the fun does start to fade. And maybe that's the magic of all of this, is seeing someone actually have a really good time with their car and it not be this Bob Glidden-esque, nose to the grindstone. All we can talk about and think about is clutch discs and, that. I think that there's some magic to that, just taking some of the pressure off.
Yeah. There's a fun to money ratio, and you have to look at that several times and decide, it is the money's getting higher and the fun is going down, that's when you have to call it back. I've spent a lot of money on Eagle and I've been having a blast. So I'm lucky to say that right now. But when that big dog engine breaks, I probably won't be having fun that day. And like, it changes all the time. And it also, a lot of it's how you roll with the punches. If you can't have a positive attitude and, I throw my helmets here and there and I've slammed some doors here and there, like we all do it. But if you can have that positive mentality, I think you can have fun at any level of racing still, but certainly is harder with the big dog cars.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, it's like you said, that jump from, that's the thing that I think is so crazy is I've had this conversation with a slew of people, is that you see all these cars on the internet and like, there's so many 3-second 1/8 mile cars, 5-second quarter mile cars. That used to be something that was reserved for like the ultimate super badass outlaw car from somewhere in Mississippi. You know what I mean? Like you never saw it out at any other races, but now we see street cars doing it, drag and drive cars doing it.
So good.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane. Tell me real quick just about the whole experience that has been the Freedom Factory. I mean, you talked about grabbing that thing and right around the time the world is burning. We go from like, I don't know about you, but like what happened to us was like, things are good, high tide, everything's rocking and rolling, and the next thing you know, the world is burning. Take us through that experience. I mean, and now this place has become, I'm really obviously in love with Bradenton Motorsports Park as a drag strip, and as someone who grew up in this sport, Bradenton has always been kind of like a revered location, like hallowed ground. But you've turned Freedom Factory right there on the same entrance into an iconic venue in and of itself. Out of what was a shuttered circle track. I mean, what has this whole process been like, and what do you make of it?
It's been really cool. Like Victor and I became good friends in 2017 is really when we became good friends. We've known each other since 2013, but Vic bought the drag strip and I started spending a lot of time there. And literally the Freedom Factory has just been sitting next to it, lights out for years, right? And we all drive by it, and it was just this like really run down place. And Victor and I were at dinner, like literally just face to face, him and I at a dinner. You would have thought we were on a date just because we're good friends, like for no other reason than friends going to dinner and just talking out loud. It clicked in our brains that like that track shouldn't be just sitting there doing nothing. And then we realized it was like the ultimate burnout stadium. You just had to be a little bit creative. And gosh, Vic, what was it, a week before we made a deal with the guy between that?
Yeah, it was a fast deal. I remember the guy who had it was trying to pitch it to me.
Yeah.
And I was actually trying to get Garrett to like just convince me if it was a good idea or not. To do something.
We all need some people to do that. I call Vic all the time. I'm like, hey, I got an idea, but I need you to tell me it's a good one.
Yeah, is this a good idea or a bad idea? And somehow we spun it around that it was a good idea for him and not me.
No. Remember,
remember we looked at it.
We went and looked at it, and it was a lease deal, and we both decided not worth it. And then it was like a month later, I think we decided that it could. Oh, you know what? It was because we decided it was a bad deal, and then we hosted a Cleetus and Cars at the drag strip, like in between the time we went to dinner, and then that was a cluster because we did a burnout pit in the staging lanes. It destroys the staging lanes. Not any room, no grandstands. And then it was like we were at dinner a couple weeks after, like, what's the new plan? Should we build the burnout pad over here? Like, we were going to pour a burnout pad, build grandstands specifically for it on Vic's property. And then it was like, ding.
Yeah.
The old.
It just clicked. It was really weird how it happened. We just bullshitting at dinner, really. And then it went from a cheap dinner to a very expensive one. And Garrett got that look in his eye that he was determined to do it. And I think a couple of weeks later, he's like, yeah, that's it. Done.
It's what it's turned into now. I mean, what was the undertaking like? Because the place was in pretty ill repair. Like, it's amazing how quickly Mother Nature kind of reclaims what's hers. But I mean, I'm sure the structurally maybe it was okay, but I know you like repaved it. You've spent a ton of money.
Structurally, it was a disaster.
Yeah.
Like, so it took 4 years and several $1 million to bring it around into just a capable facility to do like any event well. And luckily, like, so many of our YouTube subscribers supported the videos, and like we were able to make enough money to start doing this and that. And then I sold one of my cars and fixed the bleachers, had a couple events, made some money, spent $400,000 on just light poles to redo the lighting because the lights were falling over left and right. And a lot of just knock that out, make some money, knock this out, make some money. And it just kind of worked its way out over 4 years. We certainly did not rush it because it was impossible. Like, there just wasn't money to do.
I think we've spent more money on these two facilities than anybody in Manatee County has spent in the last couple of years.
If we saved our money, we could have built a brand new facility.
100%.
Neither would be thus, far, and we could add a brand new drag strip and circle track.
Do you guys do you feel like this is one of the things that I have experienced personally at Bradenton the last couple of years, specifically with the World Series of Pro Mod, is I'm kind of blown away that the local community really seems to embrace those facilities. Like, I know there's obviously like some of these urban sprawl issues and all these things with housing developments, but like I was shocked when we put on our first event there with Vic in 23, just how many of the local like restaurant owners, bar owners, hotel managers, all those people were like very aware of the drag strip and very aware that like significant things were happening there. And as someone who spent most of my whole life going to drag races almost every weekend, I'm blown away how often I go to a town that there's a big race happening in and like no one seems to know that it's happening. But I think that when you can make something be impactful or meaningful locally, it's much easier to make it matter regionally or nationally. And what do you make of like just do you guys feel that in that area? Because it seems like no matter what you guys do, there's a hell of a turnout, whether it's a Christmas tree drag, whatever you guys kick the gates open, Vic can have a test and tune and get as good of a crowd as a lot of tracks get throughout the year.
I think we've turned this area into like a motorsports town because even like you said, the urban sprawl thing, I meet people all the time like, yeah, I just moved here from wherever. And they're like, I moved here because of Cleetus, or I moved here because of the Freedom Factory in Bradenton. Like, it's insane. I mean, I'm serious. I go to the Publix down the road and I'll just be minding my business and I get stopped. And I'm sure Garrett gets it much worse than me, but I get stopped like, oh man, you're the dude that owns the drag strip. Yeah, we just moved down here just because of that drag strip. We went to your event last year. And I would imagine if you're a car guy, and you can move to a town that has two facilities like this and so many events and just, there's every kind of race we do, every kind of race that there is of drag racing. You can see it at some point in time. I would consider that when I move too.
I think Vic takes the credit for that. All of what you mentioned about restaurant owners and like all the locals knowing about it, because the drag strip is almost never closed. It is always open. I mean, my place runs really hard, like once a month. Vic's place is open all the time. It is like you can drive by. I mean, starting what now, Vic, until March, you can drive by.
From FL2K to March. Yeah.
There's going to be a car running down the drag strip.
We're about to run cars right now.
I could go right now, and there's cars running.
Yeah,
because it's open all the time, and it just is a different vibe when it's like that.
Like but I think
accessible.
I've always said that we didn't realize it as it was happening, but like you and Cooper and the Boosted Boys and like everybody who comes here, content creators and big racers, Lyle Barnett, Stevie Jackson, like people that come here to test, we all help, build this place up because we're just always talking about it and we're always doing something. Like you said, we're always running and we're not running an event, we're testing. And like, there's just so much happening and so many people talking about it that over the years, like I said, I don't think we noticed in the beginning what we were doing, but we really put Bradenton on the map.
I can't argue that at all. And I tell you what, I think we got another guest here in the chat or in the green room. Let's go ahead and bring on the man, the myth, the legend, the one and only Mark Micke. What's going on, Mark?
Hey, what's up, guys?
Man, we got a hell of a crew here today. We were just talking about
this is the turbo crew.
Oh my gosh, here we go. I'm going to be in trouble for this.
You got a rough group, man. You got a rough group today.
We got a rough group real quick. Well, hey, I just wanted to ask, we were just talking about like the significance of Bradenton as a motorsports park. I mean, Bradenton Motorsports Park as well as Freedom Factory and kind of the way what they've established down there. Mark, you built a shop down in that area. You were kind of enticed to move down there. You're a Missouri boy like me. You find yourself building a place in Bradenton area. I mean, what you've told me before, like whenever Vic and I first started talking about bringing the World Series of Pro Mod to Bradenton, you were like, you got to do it there. That's the spot. And what do you make of just what's happening down there? Like we're obviously staring down the barrel. We're about a month away from the start of the Drag Illustrated Winter Series. We're going to have one hell of a winter in Bradenton. What do you make of like what that venue represents to our sport?
Well, I mean, I've said it, and man, I've been doing, done this forever. As you know, what Vic's got going on down there. I mean, there's no other track with that vibe. Period. I mean, I'm partial to my home track is Flying Eights up here, but I still kind of think it's Bradenton my number one home track. There's no place like it. I don't know. I always say when you get out of the rig and you step out, you breathe it. You get the ocean air down there, and just the vibe of that place. Your heart races, my blood pressure drops. It's relaxing. I always look forward to going to that place. Obviously, I made a substantial investment. We just built the shop down there, 5 miles from the track. So, I don't know. It's my favorite place to go for a drag strip, and what Vic's done with that place is unbelievable. I mean, it's the best. Got the best racing there is. Period.
I always say that my go-to line is that some bands sound better in a honky tonk. You know what I mean? Like, and I think drag racing plays best at a honky tonk. Like, I love all these big super tracks. Don't get me wrong. Like, we got to have ZMAX. You got to have Vegas. You got to have these incredible over-the-top facilities.
They don't have the vibe. They don't have the vibe.
But they do. They don't have the vibe that we've got down there in Bradenton. Because it's like the ultimate Saturday night track.
There's a feeling, yeah.
That's it, the vibe. I don't know. I can't describe it. I've told it, and it's been like that for years, but I've raced there before, with multiple owners. It was always cool, but not like it is now. I mean, just like you just said, the action, those guys like Vic and them on a bracket race. You're on a bracket race on a Friday, Saturday night, the place is jammed, and people are all excited to be there. Everybody's, it's crazy. It's just unbelievable what those guys have built and how they go about it. So
I'm super excited about this winter, man. And Vic, before Cleetus, I just want to tell you thanks, man. We got to let you go. I told you 30 minutes. We're over 40 now. Thanks a bunch for joining in with us, dude. I'm looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. And I guess we'll tear that place down. Let them all know, like Black Rifle Coffee Company, 2.4 hours of Le Mullets, baldeagle.com. You can watch the whole thing, right? You can buy both days.
Yeah. If you buy the pay-per-view, you get both days. It starts Friday at 5:30, and then I think it's like 3:00 on Saturday. So
Saturday is Burnout Rivals, right?
Yep, Burnouts all day Saturday. And
if you haven't seen it, there's nothing quite like it. You have to watch it. It's the coolest thing. You have to.
Are you competing in it as well, Cleetus?
No,
Cleetus. Or do you have a burnout car for this?
Oh yeah.
Okay, I figured as much. Which car do you run in the burnout competition?
I'll run several. But primarily like Neighbor, my Crown Vic.
Yeah,
I got a whole bunch of them. So.
Okay, well, we can't wait, man. Thanks for having us, and we'll see you tomorrow evening.
See you later.
Thanks, buddy.
Bye.
Hey guys.
All right, guys, let's dive in. Vic, Mark, let's talk a little bit about the Drag Illustrated Winter Series presented by J&A Service. We've started the last couple of weeks announcing drivers. Mark, we announced you earlier this week, and I just got to say that like a little proud papa moment that's happened this week is kind of the realizing what's happening here is that we're about to have an environment where people from all walks of the drag racing life, guys that Antron Brown, NHRA Top Fuel champion. We've got some big names that we're going to drop later this week. Every big name in pro modified drag racing, guys from the drag radial world. We announced Manny Bajinga this afternoon. Guys from No Prep Kings, Kai Kelly today. Scott Taylor we've announced. Jim Howe we've announced. Like, it really feels like we're about to have the ultimate pro mod Royal Rumble, and it's going to take something of 90 days for us to figure out who's who. But I mean, can you just, Mark, like from as a business owner, as a racer, someone who has, as you said, seen and done it all, you've won every big race, you've set records, you've won championships, you've traveled around the world racing. Can you kind of, help me explain perhaps like what this really represents for our sport at this point in time?
Well, I mean, I can just tell you, I'm pretty connected in the business and deal with everybody of all walks. The buzz around this place and right here this year for the Winter Series is off the hook. I mean, everybody's talking about it. Everybody's begging. I mean, I'm getting customers, hey, can you make a call and get me in? I need help. I want to get in. I want to be part of it. You're bringing in Street Outlaws, which is going to bring us in a little, some new faces and new asses in the seats. Hopefully, you got Antron Brown. I mean, an NHRA Top Fuel champion. And it doesn't get any better than that. You got Scott Palmer, an NHRA fuel driver. I mean, it's I'm excited about it more than I've been for years. And I always say I've done this forever, and I'm the grumpy old guy of the group normally, but I'm excited. I'm pumped. I'm ready. I'm really looking forward to this. So.
I think that's what our sport has needed. Vic and I have talked about this, and I'm no sort of circle track guy, but I've always looked at the Chili Bowl as this special happening that happens once a year. And this for us was like opportunistic. Like, there's nothing else going on. We're not having to compete with any of the other sanctions and series that we're both huge fans of. Like, we want to see the best for PDRA. We want to see NHRA succeed. Whatever's going on, we want to see it do well. But we saw this like opportunity to take these three standalone happenings, bring them together, and kind of create a focal point for this entire community. And it not matter. Like, my ultimate goal is I hope we get to a point where Antron Brown's not the only one. I can't wait till Clay Milliken is out here with a Parts Plus Outlaw Pro Mod, that stays in the shop all year, and let him go chase his NHRA World Championship and race in the highest level of our sport. But when it starts to get cold out and you get your hoodies out of the closet, you better get the Outlaw Pro Mod out of the shop and turn your attention to Bradenton. It feels, I'm biased and I'm trying not to like drink my own Kool-Aid, but I do feel like some magic shit's happening right now.
No, I mean, it is. There's so many guys building new cars and buying cars, and like, there's no off season anymore because nobody wants to miss this.
Yeah, I mean, you look at our. I had to laugh, but like after came back from Orlando Monday morning, it's a madhouse around here. We got like dudes we've not talked to for a while or putting together. We've got transmission orders and everybody's. We've got to have it for Snowbirds. Can you make it happen? So we're working overtime. It's it kind of reminds me of the excitement, how we used to be with some of the drag radial stuff where it was just insanity before the event. But we've kind of missed that in Pro Mod. We've all been kind of, I don't know, how do you put it? I don't know. It hadn't had this excitement like crazy. Everybody wanted to do it. One thing, I was at the Vegas NHRA event, and I know a lot of guys in the pits walking through, and you would be amazed at the amount of professional, teams, Top Fuel, Funny Car, Pro Stock. They're coming up to me about, hey man, we watch you guys on Pro Mod. We're watching this. We're paying attention. I mean, there's a lot of people are watching this whole deal and really watching us right now. So
I think so too. I mean, I think that's Pro Mod, right?
It's going to help. Yeah, all Pro Mod, and it's going to help PDRA. It's going to help NHRA because we're bringing in new guys, and those guys are going to get bored midsummer, and they're going to want to go race somewhere else. So I really think a lot of guys are concerned it's going to detract from the other series. Bullshit. It's going to help the other series. I'm telling you, it's going to take them all up. So
I think so too. Go ahead.
We've just created something that like if you win any of these 3 races, you're like in the drag racing Hall of Fame, guaranteed. Like, this is the tightest, closest door car racing that exists for huge money in front of a huge crowd, great conditions. Like, it's just, we've created something that's going to be really, really, really special. And like you said, I think it's going to help. I think it's going to help build up all of the racing in general, but especially Pro Mod. So many new people are looking at Pro Mod and paying attention to Pro Mod and buying cars and building cars. I mean, the reality, if there were more places that you could buy or build a Pro Mod, there'd be even more of them. That's probably the bottleneck right now, is people can't get cars fast enough.
Oh, I mean, it's kind of amazing right now. Like, I'm having people reach out, like asking if I know of any cars for sale, or is there any rental deals available? And I'm like, I mean, it's kind of an amazing thing. And I feel humbled and honored. I always tell people, unless you've been in Denver, Colorado, staring down the barrel of $100,000 to win shootout with 11 cars in the lanes, like, so this is like a whole world from that. I mean, I remember that wasn't that long ago, 2019. I'm going, I don't know if this whole deal is going to work, but I'm glad we stayed the course and recognized the opportunity was really an outlaw 8th mile racing. Because I mean, I just think that I totally understand all the magic. And we were talking earlier about the first to run 300, and there's some killer shit there. But the coolest part about what I think is going to happen this winter in Bradenton is cars, turbo cars, blower cars, roots cars, nitrous cars, pro charger cars. 32 of them will likely be lumped in a field that's spread by 600ths of a second. Anybody can win. The number 32 qualifier could very easily have a couple of good draws. It has happened. And that's the magic of this deal, is that you're not going to have anybody just run away with it, in my opinion.
The chip draw, too, also adds another level of excitement to it, because you go into it not having a clue what's going to happen.
Do you like the chip draw deal, Mark? Not everybody loves it.
Yeah, I mean, I think
it's entertaining, cool, but as a racer, it's probably tough. Yeah.
Well, because it bit my ass this year, we were fortunate on the chip draws. We were up first a couple times, so we got the car, we got comfortable being up on the track early. Well, then we got a chip draw. We were at the end of the session, and the track changes. It's just part of it. Yeah. We sucked. We didn't adapt to it, and Jason Harris beat my ass, and so that was a different, like, normally if we didn't have the chip draw, I'm fortunate to have a car that runs up front, ET wise, so I'm always getting to pick when I run, what part of the order and this and that, and what lane I get, and that just kind of, that takes that away from you. I like it. Like I said, it pisses me off when I suck like that, so it makes me want to work harder. So, it's just an extra deal that kind of gives you a different challenge, and kind of when you go up there and draw that chip, it's like, oh shit, who am I going to draw? And
I like it, but I haven't raced it.
It's cool. So
to me, there's nothing like, it's always, for me, I'm trying to think about how it impacts the story and like how it impacts the fans. And I think so much of this sport happens with a helmet on and inside closed doors, that it's important to create those moments where you get to see like a human face reach up and draw Mark Micke, and you get to see that guy go, shit. You know what I mean? You get to see that reaction, or you get to see somebody like J.R. Gray draw Lyle Barnett and go, yes, you know what I mean? And be excited about that matchup. And I think that those are the moments that fans, they see that in so many other sports. I mean, if in UFC, there's a big UFC going on this Saturday night in New York City, Stipe Miocic fighting John Jones. Don't you know they're going to have those dudes staring face to face tomorrow night during the press conference, right? They're going to do the face-offs. Drag racing doesn't have as many of those opportunities where you get to see like real emotional reactions from these people, because so much of it happens like we're all separate and we're together kind of for a few seconds, and then we all go our separate ways. So for me, anytime we've got an opportunity to put all these people in the same kind of confined space and let whatever's going to happen, it's good for our fans. And that's what we've got to do, is like, the cars are great, but I've argued this and I will continue to do so until I'm blue in the face, that the cars are not the stars. I mean, it's Mark Micke, it's Jason Struggs, it's Jim Halsey. It's these personalities that people fall in love with. The cars help. The cars may start the process, but it's like all of our jobs to kind of foster that relationship and make it go a little deeper, man. And what do you make of one of the things I wanted to ask you about, Mark, is you talk about this in every interview. You've got a young group of guys. You've got some fresh faces that are involved in your program. We were talking earlier with Cleetus just about where we're at in car culture, or is this a high tide moment? Are things headed in the right direction? I would argue they are, but I'm just curious, as someone, what do you make of like the young guys that are coming up?
Wes, but
go ahead.
In reference to the in reference to the young guys, I mean, here's the problem. We're a bunch of old crabby dudes, and we're all getting old and we're getting tired, and it's not going to last forever. We don't have young guys. We got to get young guys in this game. So I've taken it upon myself and my business. It's like I got to get these young guys, because we all don't want to work this hard when we're 60 years old. We got to get them up there. So yeah, I've put a lot of effort into keeping my young guys. They're badass. We've taught them the way we want them. It's some of it. I get more fun, and I tell this over and over. I get more enjoyment out of watching these guys and the enthusiasm they have, and the smiles, and they're high-fiving, and they're having a good time. And some of that gets lost on us after we do it over and over and have done it for 25, 30 years. But I was at Orlando this weekend, and I had one of my other racers come up to me, and he goes, "Man, I love to watch your guys over there because they're always smiling, they're always laughing, they're having a good time no matter what." And he said, "That is really cool." So I took that as a hell of a compliment, and I told them, I said, you guys are paying attention to you. You're out here, you've kicked a bunch of ass this year. And so, guys are really paying attention to who you are. And it's a big deal at your age to be able to do it, and I'm fortunate. One of my guys, Damon Cole, was one of your 30 under 30s, which is a testament of what you got going on there, So
it's really cool, though, that you actually give them the credit and put them on the stage, because there's a lot of guys that are great crew as well that just don't get the recognition that they deserve. So hats off to you for that.
Oh, well, thank you, dude. It's like a labor of love for us.
We don't do shit, so as a driver. So
no, it's just cool to see, because I do think that was one of the, a few years ago, I was having team owners and crew and car owners reach out constantly that like one of the biggest issues that exists in our sport right now is like how hard it is to get good help, because people don't want to work this hard. They don't want to travel that much. It is not an easy task, but I think your success in the group of young guys that you have kind of prove that it can be done, and you can train these guys up. And instead of adopting someone else's bad habits or poor training, you get these guys fresh early in the process, and you can teach them up and learn them up the way that you want these things to happen. And, obviously the proof's in the pudding, man.
Yeah. It takes patience. Like I said, you got to be patient with them because they're young. They just don't know. Here, we've all grown up in this our whole lives. I started doing this when I was 14 years old, building a car and whatever. And that doesn't exist for the young guys anymore. They can't go buy a 67 Camaro, because it's way out of the pricing. They could never afford to do it. So you just got to get them, and then once you get them hooked, and another thing, we've had a great year with winning. So as I always tell the guys, what's better than winning? Nothing. There's nothing better than winning. So that makes it even better. And like I said, but I do think as a group, as far as everybody in drag racing, from manufacturers to all of us, racers themselves, have to make more effort to bring in more young guys and give them the leeway, trust them, give them some more responsibility than you maybe normally would. But that's the only way we're gonna keep this shit going.
Ryan Loans. Okay, let's hear it. I love it.
Give me your young guys and get some new ones for yourself. So this way you can bring more in, because I'm gonna need them.
Vic, you're about to need a team of your own.
Yeah, I'm gonna need a team. So if you want to bring some new young guys in, let me know. I'll take yours.
Well, Mark, before we cut you loose, dude, I want to talk specifically about, now I know we've only announced, about a dozen, maybe over drivers for the Winter Series. We got a slew coming out. I don't even want to tell you how many. It's unbelievable, the support that we have for this deal in the quality of drivers. That's something that we really take I take shit for it all the time, but my go-to line is you wouldn't film a movie without knowing the cast of characters. And it has nothing to do with controlling the outcome. It just has to do with getting what our sport has lacked in the past is being galvanized, like truly working together, sharing the vision. And I think that what we put above all else is people that understand and appreciate what we're trying to do and see the big picture, that we're trying to build something here that will behoove us all. And that's kind of like priority number one. But knowing kind of the cast of characters you've seen the last couple of years, Mark, I'm just curious, like, who do you have your eye on? I know there's a whole lot of people that have their eye on you, I promise. So are there some other guys that throughout 2024 you think have kind of made statement performances or had a good year that you think will be in the thick of things this winter?
Well, I mean, you got to look at let's say Jason Harris right now. That's one of the top pro charger cars there are. That dude's on a mission. Can drive. He's got the whole package. Can drive. Got a badass race car. You got Spencer Hyde. I mean, you got all the Todd Totaros. Todd Totaro's a badass dude. I mean, I'm not kidding. When I raced him this year at US Street, that was the most nervous I've ever been running anybody when you're running Todd. So, man, it's hard to pick one. I mean, anybody could win. That's what Derek Ward so cool. Who would have picked Derek Ward? And I love Derek Ward. He's an awesome dude, but I wouldn't have picked him to win. And there he went. And that was a relatively new car for him too. Jim Halsey. I mean, I don't know. There's no freebies in this deal. If you make it into the 32 car field, you're a bad motherfucker, period. I don't care. And you better be ready to fight and get your ass beat, because those dudes, all of them, are going to have you screw up one little bitty thing and your ass is going to be sitting in the trailer watching the race from the grandstand. So,
no,
I don't know. There's no pick other than I'm going to pick myself. Turbo car, man. The turbo car's on a roll. I mean, my guys are on a roll. We're on a roll. I finally remembered how to drive a race car again. So I think we're going to be pretty tough. So
I can't argue, man. Well, Mark, we'll cut you loose, dude. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your afternoon. Vic, can you hang out for a minute?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, great. Vic, hang out for a minute.
Right,
Mark,
guys.
we appreciate you, brother.
Yeah,
shout out, longtime supporter of everything we do here at Drag Illustrated. We won't soon forget it, brother. I'll see you in a few days.
All right, man. See you.
Appreciate you, buddy. All right, guys. Vic, JT, Mike, let's bring the crew back. We had to trim down some of this. I want to take a quick second here and remind everybody that each and every episode of the Wes Buck Show is made possible by way of our friends at Stroud Safety. Stroud Safety is known for their top quality racing safety equipment, from drag chutes and seatbelts to fire suits, gloves, and blankets, all 100% made in America. Log on to StroudSafety.com today. Make sure you tell them we sent you. We just announced them as the official safety solution of the Drag Illustrated Winter Series. Super excited about this deal, man. Vic, I want to get JT and Mike in here and talk a little bit about what is our so let's talk a little bit about the 2.4 hours of the mullets. You've done this before, and so you're telling me that you think I should drive first. So we just changed drivers once, correct?
Yeah. So you'll do half and I'll do half.
Okay.
I think you should start us off, and the game plan needs to be: do not let these guys take you out of the race, because they absolutely will if you let them. That's it. You just got to stay in the pack wherever you're at and just survive.
It's like a demo derby. You avoid everybody until the end.
And then I'm hoping that I can come in and clean up. I don't know. It's a lot of pressure on me, but that was my thought. Just because I have a little more experience on the track and with these hoonigans that we're racing with. These guys are all crazy. Every single one.
Did Cleetus say something about running a half mile? Is there running involved in this also?
Oh, yeah, we have to run to start. Yeah, I think I saw a video the other day that they're going to do it like old school.
Oh, they're running at the start.
You have to run. So somebody's going to be in the car and strapped in. So in this case, Wes will be in the car strapped in, and I'll have to run to the car and hit the car for Wes to take off. But I'll trip.
Have you been training?
Oh, dude, I'm ready.
Okay, great.
I'm very competitive.
No.
I'm gonna do whatever I have to do. They're gonna I'll probably go on one when they count it off, and I'll probably trip 2 or 3 people. Get to you, hit the car.
Boy. Now you're talking.
Yeah,
I think that's what it's going to take. Because here's the deal: I want to make the dude get his checkbook out. I'm no sort of wheelman. No, I'm not here to say that I'm the driving son, but we will. I'm like you.
I mean, and he called us out.
He's called us out. Now we have no choice. And I feel like I do my best when my back's against the wall. I'm here for it.
We should make him write 5,000 different checks and donate $1 to a bunch of different charities.
Okay, I'm here for it. Let's do it.
Let's do it. How does the driver swap work? Would you guys? I mean, what's
it's
that
a
whole
small
process?
break. So they'll pull in and it's a couple minute break. So it's relaxed. You get in the car, strap in, and go, and you just continue from where Wes brings us in there. So hopefully Wes keeps us in the middle.
Yeah,
that's the other thing is like in the end, so many people crash and just completely total and just are out of the race that you just really have to survive and just be. If you're in the middle of the pack on the last like 10 minutes of the race, you can absolutely win. There's always
how do you survive? What's your tips for survival? Because all these cars are, even. There's no way to pull away or to whatever.
No, actually, that's not true. Some of them are better than others.
Okay.
Like sometimes
it's like going to a go-kart track. And
I have a feeling Cleetus's is better than others.
Cleetus's car is always the best.
Yeah.
And you'll be flooring it going down the straight, and he'll just drive past you. But you can't. So the thing is, if you like get into it with these guys, like you nudge somebody or you do something they don't like, they will make it their business to take you out. And then like you just have to be head on a swivel, because like you got to also understand that a lot of these guys just aren't that good. They're not that good at doing this. You know what I mean? I mean, ourselves included. We're not professional circle track drivers, but it's really tight track, a lot of cars, and the traffic is heavy, which makes it, to me, like I enjoy that. To me, it's fun.
Yeah.
But you could easily just like go into a turn, be minding your business, and get just completely clobbered by somebody.
I didn't realize JT's got it on the screen.
I've got it on the screen in the background here. Yeah, this is a couple years ago, I believe. Okay. This may have been the first year, like 2000 or.
Dude, the last time I did that race, I don't even remember what year it was, but James Tall took me out so bad. Like, so he pit maneuvered me into the exit wall and or the entrance wall. So I went head on into a wall, and it was really bad because of the angle of it. I almost could have gone off the track, and it was a hard hit. So you just have to survive. That's the best. and me and James got into it. Is what happened. We were going around, and he nudged me, I nudged him, and then we had a couple laps where we were just fighting each other to try to get the edge or someone, to be in front of the other going into the turns and stuff. And then he just had enough.
He just had enough. He was done playing, man.
Send me packing.
It's absolute insanity, man. I'm looking forward to it, dude. I think that honestly, it reminds me of what happened in boxing with this Jake Paul's fighting Mike Tyson Friday night. Whoever thought that would happen, but look at the energy and enthusiasm it's brought back to boxing. And I honestly think part of what Cleetus has done with events like these, where he brings these guys and gals from all these different communities. I mean, you would like to think that you bring their following with them. Right. And I think that that's some of what we're trying to accomplish with the Winter Series is, bringing that No Prep Kings fan base to the event, bringing that PDRA fan base to the event, bringing that NHRA fan base to the event, and start to merge these worlds. Because that's really what we need is opportunities to kind of these high water moments that I really do believe. And we could riff on this for a little bit. I mean, I feel these events will without a doubt improve and or help all the other sanctions and series in the country, if not world.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're just putting more eyes on different kinds of racing. And in our case, we're putting a ton of eyes on pro mod racing, and we're giving them a bigger stage than they arguably ever get to race all year. And, just there's people catching on. Antron Brown sees it, and he's like, hey, I want to do that. Kai Kelly sees it. Hey, I want to do that. So the long-term effects of that are just great for the class and for the sport.
I sure think so, man. Well, Vic, dude, we'll let you get back to work. We don't want to keep you. We got to riff a little bit on the fast approaching NHRA finals in Pomona. And I guess unless you want to hang around.
I'll get back to work. I'm here at the track.
Get back to work. You're at the track.
Winter Series is coming up. So
all right, buddy. We'll see you soon, man. Thank you for hanging out. Thanks, we appreciate it, and we'll talk to you soon. I'll see you tomorrow.
All right, see you guys.
Right, thank you, boss.
Bye.
Well, hey, guys, it feels like we would be doing ourselves the sport a disservice not to at least talk about the final stop on the 2024 Mission Foods NHRA Drag Racing Series Tour coming up this weekend at the legendary fairgrounds out in Pomona, California. It's hard to believe we're here at the end, but just as we wanted, just what we look for every year, it's going to be a nail biter. This deal could come down to Sunday in a multitude of different classes. JT, I know you're running odds and kind of following all the betting lines. I mean, I guess I'll start with you. Let's just start in Top Fuel. I mean, what's your kind of lay of the land here? I mean, when you look at, Justin Ashley leading the points and kind of the really tumultuous weekend with the sport Top Fuel had in Vegas, The big incident with Sean Langdon there early in eliminations, the car tire coming apart, having the front and back half of the car this week to get ready, but still heading into Pomona with a shot at the title. Doug Coletta, Brittany Force. It's going to be an absolute gunfight at the top of our sport and NHRA Top Fuel. What are the odds looking like?
Man, I just got them actually earlier. I guess I got them, but I haven't dove into them to put them on graphics yet or anything. But really, the story all year is it's anybody's game, right? I mean, we've seen that in Top Fuel the whole year, and really, it's, I mean, if you go into the odds, Antron Brown is the favorite going into this weekend, and Justin Ashley second, and then Steve Torrance, Doug Coletta, Brittany Force. But I mean, but read down through them: Sean Langdon, Clay Milliken, Sean Reed. I mean, those top cars there really, and really dipping down all the way 3/4 of the way through the field here in the odds. I mean, you got Tony Stewart and Tony Schumacher and Billy Torrance, Ida. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy the odds that these guys they're giving out on this. But what's even worse betting wise is in Top Fuel, man, 3/4 of this field can win.
Is that those odds are just for this weekend's event, right? Not the championship.
Right. Yep.
Did they do any kind of championship odds, or is there any way to bet on that?
I think I don't know if you can this late. If you could this late, it would probably not be worth betting on.
Probably. Yeah.
You know,
is this event? I was looking, I can't find it. It's not. Is it 1.5 points?
Yes.
Yeah. So there's like a handful of cars in Top Fuel that are right there. It's interesting to see Antron's got the best odds going into this weekend. He's sitting in second, only 44 points back. Langdon's only 1 point behind him. Sean's made a huge push here at the end of the season. So definitely some players there. What about, I really feel like Top Fuel and Funny Car, Pro Stock, obviously you said it's anybody's game. What are we looking at for Pro Stock Motorcycle? What do those odds look like? Let
me get over to it here real quick.
Gage has got 120 some odd, 123 point lead. I think it's going to take 10 wins on the season so far. I mean, it's only 3 other drivers have even won races. So it's
Gage is still in the negative numbers. So he's negative 129. And then Matt Smith is the next favorite at plus 296. So
those have tightened up though a lot over the course of the season.
You know, at one time Gage was in the like minus 600 and something, just crazy, you know, as him against the field. And then, I mean, there was probably at least 1,000 difference in odds between him and the second place runner. So
yeah, it was huge until that's when he was on that streak. It's like he got this air of invincibility about him when he was on that streak where he had won so many rounds in a row and so many races in a row. And then once that kind of fell off, the odds tightened back up. But he actually, we skipped over the other classes. We'll go back and talk about him. But Funny Car, Austin Prock actually has a bigger lead going into to the finals than Gage Herrera does over Matt Smith. He's got an 188 point lead over his teammate Jack Beckman driving for John Force. Then Ron Capps 250 back, Hagan 258 back. I mean, do you guys agree that it's Austin Prock's championship to lose at this point?
I don't even know what the math is on him losing it. I don't know what exactly would have to happen. I'm sure it's something that would a D&Q or something along those lines.
Slim. That's what the Dinzy Deets are so good at pointing out when you get those, JT, for the show. Yep. Who you got, which is going to air tomorrow. So many like nuggets like that, or things that you can't sit here and figure out. He's got all this figured out and pulling stuff from the archives as who's performed well at this track in the past, things like that can really, if you're into the betting and participating in that, or just trying to handicap what's going to happen.
Or even doing your drag race bracket bonanza or anything like that. It gives you some insight on stuff that you may not even think about, like the track and previous winners, quickest ETs over the years, who's won the most races at this track. I mean, it's just all good information. And then he kind of wraps it all up for you in the what to watch for. So it's really cool. And in Funny Car, Austin Prock is of course he's the favorite at plus 283. And then Bob Tasca, Matt Hagan, and Ron Capps, Jack Beckman. But the jump from Austin Prock at 283 to Bob Tasca is 696. So I mean, that's a huge jump.
Well, I'm going to tell you, man, I think we're going to look back on what what Austin Prock has done here in 2024. I mean, this is like an iconic performance. I mean, the performance they've had. It started at the Pro Superstar Shootout. I mean, it started in Bradenton
too, though. I mean, we were there all week, obviously, for testing, and remember, he couldn't get down the track at all in testing. I think maybe the last day of testing, they finally got it pointed in the right direction. Because I can remember we're talking about, man, that's not really starting off too well, or it's going to take him some time to get that going. Then he turns around and wins the event and really hasn't let off since then.
Yeah, I mean, if you remember during testing, they were like down and out. I mean, the team, they were all frustrated and this isn't going the way we wanted. And then all of a sudden you saw things start to click, and what they've accomplished throughout 2024 is virtually unheard of. And to do it at this level, because this is, despite what anybody may want to say about car counts or whatever, the quality of competition, the quality of cars and drivers that exist in Top Fuel and Funny Car today, we've never seen anything like it. And to compete at the level that he is and be so dominant, it's unbelievable. And then you layer in all these other things, that he's racing with his dad and his brother, and he's driving kind of, this torch passing kind of moment that happened earlier in the year with him and John Force, and the way things have unfolded. It's storybook. And I think it may be setting us up for like one of drag racing's next big transcendent stars. I mean, I think that Austin he's got the gift of gab. He's a good talker. He's a cocksure young guy. You know what I mean? He's very comfortable in his own skin. He's very confident in his abilities. He's very confident in the team. And I think all of that is going to bode well for the sport. Like the more, we see this kid giving an acceptance speech for his championship trophy in LA a week after the World Finals, and all these things and everything that will come after that, I think the whole sport could benefit from it. We kind of need those ranks to produce that next star. And it's exciting to see it unfolding right before our eyes.
A culinary, I think he was at some culinary convention or something. They had him on there cooking and doing a bunch of different interviews and signing autographs for chefs and different things. I saw.
Yeah, he's
in LA.
Yeah, remember at the pro race too, they did like a feature on his cooking in the pits.
Yeah,
but definitely an interest for him. What about Pro Stock? Yeah, let's talk about Pro Stock,
man. Dallas Glenn's a favorite, not by much. Aaron Stanfield, I mean, listen to this, plus 512, and then plus 535. They got these guys neck and neck. And then Erica Enders at 598, and then Greg at 622. So those four right there are all really close in Vegas odds. And then the jump here is from Greg to Jeggy, which is over double. I mean, it goes from 622 to 1308.
Man, I just think that this Pro Stock deal, I was actually writing about it a couple of nights ago, and I was just thinking about how cool this story is on so many levels. Like, you've got Aaron Stanfield driving for JHG, Melling, Elite Motorsports, a relative fresh face. I mean, those of us who've been around the sport for a long time are more than familiar with the Stanfield family. So I don't want to act like he's somehow new to the space, but he is one of the younger talents that exist in NHRA Pro Stock, and he's got his teammate, Erica Enders, and I don't necessarily want to identify her as part of the old guard, so to speak, but she's been at this for a while. She's a 6-time world champion, and he's never been able to seal the deal just yet. He's had a couple of opportunities, perhaps his best one here in 2024, but you've got kind of the yin and yang there. You've got the fresh face, you've got the wiry veteran, and then you have the same thing on the KB Titan side of the ball with Dallas Glenn and Greg Anderson. And I'm just anxious and interested to see, do you see the people that have been there before? I mean, I think about the amount of times that Erica Enders has been counted out in situations such as these. And the same for Greg, where he goes into these events and it's all on him. They're strategically qualifying, doing everything they can do, to try and win. But then you've got these two kind of X factor wild card guys in Aaron Stanfield and Dallas Glenn. And I'm just anxious to see how this unfolds. Like, will it be two young guns at the end of the day on Sunday? Will it be, a couple of our sports legends, Erica and Greg? I mean, who knows what's going to happen? But just the fact that we have the stage set for this, kind of like a natural transition, is pretty damn exciting.
Yeah, kind of like those young guns were ready for the challenge in the interviews, right? I mean, they said the right things. It looks like they're both looking forward to it, and kind of they thrive off of it as well. Greg mentioned that he does too. So
yeah, I agree.
It's really good. It's really cool to see these young guys stepping up and being like, yeah, I'm ready for this. Like,
yeah,
this is what we did this is what we worked all year for. So
yeah, Aaron's in the lead, obviously. Dallas Glenn 32 points back, Greg's 56 back. There's quite a jump to Erica. She's 128 back. Then Jeg is fifth, 212 back, which I don't have the math, but he may be out of contention. But I mean, Erica's still there in contention, and we've seen her pull this out in the past, but she's got quite a hill to climb. You got Aaron, Dallas, and Greg. Really, to me, it's down to Aaron.
She need everybody to exit early, right, in front of her.
Yeah, I think so. I haven't run all those scenarios, and I'm sure you guys will talk about that on who you got today. But it's really through the middle part of the season. I think we saw Aaron. He was dominant, and he won. What was it? 5 out of 7 races. He won several races in a row. Dallas then picked back up. I think as we ended the summer, entered the fall. Now we've seen Aaron back in the winner circle again. Those two have just been, to me, neck and neck and dueling for this deal all year. And it's going to come down to one of those two guys.
Yeah, it's hard to argue, man. I think that it'll be fun to see because I think part of the reason that Dallas Glenn and Aaron Stanfield have been, because going back to Mark Micke's earlier point, our sport does kind of eat their young. We joke about this all the time, that like new people come in and kind of like all the people who are established and have been here for a while kind of
they don't want to get out of the, I don't want to say get out of the way because that sounds too harsh, but they stick around forever and never vacate that seat or position or whatever the case may be early enough, in my opinion, to allow that next generation to crop up. So there's a lot of scenarios or situations that you could describe that, but yeah, it's to see someone willingly step out. Yeah, it's hard for these guys to do
in any sport, not just racing. Yeah, we see it happen in all of sports.
Oh yeah, guys stay.
Nobody exits the right time, to be honest with you.
Yeah, but I mean, I think it's interesting because I think part of the reason those two have become the fan favorites that they have. I mean, I've seen someone, Marlena Crawford in the comments right here. Aaron is the GOAT, and I saw somebody earlier going on about Dallas Glenn. I think part of the way they have been able to kind of break through or resonate so strongly with the drag racing fan base and the masses is that these are guys that are like, have kind of done it the hard way, right? I mean, they started out in sportsman racing, earned their stripes, they've crewed on cars, they've built engines, they've worked on these cars, they've drove rigs, they've done all these things. So I think they go into this situation, with a championship on the line, one race to win it all. I think they go in like uniquely prepared. I mean, there's a lot of very skilled people, very knowledgeable people behind the wheel of these race cars, but you take guys that have demonstrated that they've got ice in their veins, that they can stay cool and collected and calm under pressure, but they also have like a deep understanding of what's actually happening, the way the cars are performing. They're able to provide valuable feedback to crew chiefs and tuners and everybody that's involved on the car. So I think that if there's ever been two, relative fresh faces come into a championship scenario poised to get the job done, I think these are two. I think we could be looking at kind of the next reign of terror, if you will, in pro stock, and it's going to be those two camps. I mean, by all accounts, we saw another announcement from Elite Motorsports today that they're going to field another full-time NHRA pro stock car in 2025. I think that's putting their total up around 9 cars full-time under their umbrella. You never know what KB Titan has up their sleeve. They've got a multitude of drivers as well. So this is really going to be, red team versus blue team. And I just think that it's, I understand that there's, pushback from some of the fans and they want to see a bunch of privateers and a bunch of independent operations. But if you just separate that, we've got some incredible drivers, some badass race cars, and we got really great competition. And it's going to be fun to see how this thing unfolds, man. It really is.
No doubt about it.
It's going to be crushing if some of the old guard come back and get it done on the last race there.
Right? We've seen it so many times. Both Greg and Erica been in these positions before. I actually found, I went on NHRA.com. They have championship odds listed here for the championships in both Top Fuel and in Pro Stock. They do not have them for Pro Stock motorcycle or funny car. But just while we're talking about Pro Stock, Aaron Stanfield is minus 247. Then Dallas is plus 262. Greg is plus 406, so not too far behind. Then Erica is plus 8,303.
Wow.
So that just kind of spells out that scenario there.
Well, hey man, there might be that might be a decent bet.
You put $1
on that Erica Enders.
Put $1 on Erica.
You win 800 and something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That seems like it may be worth You never
worth
know.
throwing $5 or $10 down on it,
Yeah.
or 20. I mean, it really would be,
man. Yeah, I mean, $100 would win $8,303.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy, man.
And if there's anybody that's gonna,
if there's anybody gonna do it, she
those
is, right?
odds, then it's her. So yeah, definitely interesting.
Yeah.
Well, and God knows that she's going out there with a championship on her mind. I promise you. I mean, it's a foregone conclusion.
Mad when she hears us talking about anything other than her winning the championship.
Yeah, she's going out there to win it. I promise you, she's going to win it. And I mean, I think that you're right, Jason or JT, watching along with the NHRA media or press conference yesterday. You're right. All these young guys saying the right things. It doesn't feel like anybody's kind of caught up in the moment. At all. And I know that's easier said than done. And you're never, most people aren't going to kind of, show that even if they were, but you're right. They're here for it. They're ready for this moment and they seem to be embracing it, leaning into it, not leaning away from it. And I think we may see a passing of the torch this weekend. I mean, I think it's happening in a lot of different levels. I mean, if you just think about the fact, Justin Ashley, this is a young man who still, despite being considered the best driver in the game right now, or amongst the best drivers in the game for sure. I mean, he's a relative newcomer. It wasn't that long ago that we were voting for this guy as Rookie of the Year. And here he is, on the
Speaking of which, we got to get our votes
World
in.
Championship.
Did you vote? Did you do
I
your
voted.
Rookie? I got to do mine. They actually sent me a reminder.
They sent me a reminder.
I'm probably
as well.
straggling and
it's a really tough deal. And I mean, that's something we should talk about here for a few minutes before we wrap this deal up for the day.
What's the deadline?
I think Sunday.
Okay. So I can wait till after this race.
Yeah, I think you can wait till after this race. And I mean, when you think about Jasmine Salinas, Brandon Foster, you've got Derek Reese was nominated. You also have, of course, Tony Stewart, Ida Zetterstrom, Richard Gadsden. I mean, it's such a tough thing because I think that Tim or Daniel Wilkerson,
dude, it's the Rookie of the Year thing is interesting this year because normally, I mean, I hate to say this, but a lot of times you got one, maybe two people that clearly just stand out.
Yeah.
And then now, I mean, it is a tough field. That's why I've waited on my vote. Normally it's just like easy. I just go right in and do it.
I can't help but feel like Tony Stewart's going to win this deal going away. I mean, I know that he hasn't had some sort of dominating season in Top Fuel or anything, but he's certainly been in the HUD. I think he's qualified for every race or almost every race. He's been to a final, made the countdown. And what he's done for the sport off the track. I mean, if you could pick like an ambassador of the year, I think that he may well get that
first time
honor.
that you would consider that, right? I mean, normally, and I know that if you read through it, it's probably just supposed to be on track performance, but yeah, there's a lot that goes into that now when you talk about Tony Stewart.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how else. And, honestly, when it's the NHRA asks when you're making your selection to please consider their on-track performance, their relationship with fans, media, and sponsors, their participation in NHRA promotions, the number of events that they compete in, and their potential as a future star of the sport. Right. And I think if that's your criteria, I don't know how you vote against Tony Stewart. I mean, and I was really impressed and excited and proud of the effort that Ida Zetterstrom put into, she made a real push for this. I mean, she basically ran a campaign. They had the car basically red, white, and blue. They kind of leaned into this whole political environment that we've been in for the last several months. Came out and went rounds, has done a great job.
Ton of stuff off the track, social media wise and everything else. So,
but
it'll be weird though, right? For Tony to get Rookie of the Year for him.
I think it will, and I think he'll honestly probably be uncomfortable with it in some regard. I mean, I see him. I think he'll be a little bit uncomfortable with it, but I don't think he will.
I think he'll actually be. I think he'll be comfortable with it because he's embraced that
rookie,
role, being a rookie, and I have never heard him talk about his experience in drag racing so far in any way other than that, being very humble.
I agree with that.
Very, I guess it's just saying that he's behind the car at first.
Everything he's won, though, that in motorsports and all the different.
But I think that's one of the coolest things about the way he's approached this, though, is that no matter what all this other stuff he's done, he has a lot of respect for drag racing and what's going on here, and does view himself as a rookie.
I think that's one of the things that he's done, perhaps more so than anyone else that I've seen, is he has really helped us like legitimize the abilities of the men and women that drive these cars. I think that that's something that gets slept on so much and glossed over, is that he has talked about how overwhelming the routine is and how many things have to be done in a certain order, consistently the same every time. And you hear him talk a little bit about the performance of the car and how it pulls and how it accelerates.
Well, he said,
and all
I heard
those
him.
things.
I heard the statement, and it reminded me because Cleetus said it again today. He was behind the car. Cleetus said he was behind that car when it went 4 flat or 590s to the quarter. And Tony has said that a bunch. And we even did an interview with him a year ago that got published in the magazine that he reiterated that many times. So yeah, he's not afraid to admit that. I think that's another thing that I think is really cool to hear. He's not afraid to admit. Here's a lot of people consider to be one of the best natural race car driving talents in history, and he's saying that. So yeah, that's a huge deal.
Don't you think that does a lot for our sport? Because it's really easy for like the casual motorsports fan or somebody who's like a dyed-in-the-wool NASCAR guy or a dyed-in-the-wool road course or Formula One fan to look at the sport of drag racing and go, oh, stab and steer, this shit's easy, it's no big deal. But then you have someone as accomplished as Tony Stewart talking about how difficult this is and how much how much he struggled with it. And, you know, I remember when Travis Pastrana jumped in Scott Palmer's Top Fuel car a couple of years ago, and how immediately Tony Stewart interjected himself into this to kind of prepare Travis for this. Like, hey, this isn't jumping out of a plane. Like, this is a very complicated deal that you need to be prepared for. And I think that did a lot to kind of help put our sport over to those people that maybe looked down on it or like it was easier, it was over too fast. I mean, we need more of that, because that goes back to that whole conversation about our ongoing, like, how jaded or desensitized we've become. You know, like, we're so used to this that we start to kind of gloss over the fact that, like, hey, this, you know, Cleetus' car is a great example. This is a damn 3,000 pound street car, essentially steel roof and quarters car, you know, going 250 miles an hour in the quarter mile. I mean, that's 4 city blocks, friends. You know what I mean? Like, it's insane. Tesla's bragging about their 0 to 60, and this thing's going 0 to 250 in 5 seconds. You know, I mean, it's an insane thing, and we need to talk about it more to create that fanfare and that hero kind of fan hero, fan legend type of relationship, because I think it's something that we lack sometime in this sport. But hey, guys, I do want to remind you each as we close the show today, a couple things. Huge shout out to Vic Alvarez, Cleetus McFarland, Mark Micke for taking some time to spend with us this afternoon and talk all things drag racing. I also want to thank our sponsors, Stroud Safety, Redline Synthetic Oils, Flow Racing, Racers.club. Check it out, the hottest new lifestyle brand in the game. Mike, JT, I appreciate you guys. I think I'm excited for this weekend, man. We didn't get to talk about any of my racing exploits. I was going to give you guys all the lay of the land on my another disastrous weekend at the drag strip, but I did have a bunch of fun.
Maybe you can give us like a 2-week recap. You can talk about that and talk about what you're going to do this weekend.
Next Wednesday, man, we'll talk about burnouts and circle track or figure 8 racing. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys so much for joining us here on the Wes Buck Show. We'll see you next Wednesday, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on the Drag Illustrated YouTube channel. Remember, click like, click subscribe, join this movement, and never miss a piece of content from your boys at Drag Illustrated. Talk to you guys soon. Thanks guys.